Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. Well, my friends, we talk a lot on this show about market eminence and thought leadership and speaking and publishing and podcasting, and no one really knows what the hell's going on. And if they do, they're probably lying to you, except my next guest, who actually does know what's going on, Mr. Doug Crowe. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, no pressure. Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure
whatsoever.
You are one of the few enlightened souls that know about business leaders leaving a thought leadership trail of breadcrumbs behind that will build their legacy and help them grow, scale, and exit and all those wonderful things.
I have an opinion on it. I'm not sure about it.
Well, that's why we're here.
I'm a consummate student.
So tell me a little bit about the professional journey that brought you to the work that you're doing today, and what were some interesting detours along the way?
Oh, gosh, how much time do we have? Let's see.
At least 3 hours on this.
3 hours. Okay, thank you, Mr. Rogan. So I had my degree in radio, TV, film. Got a job at the ABC in Cleveland. Robert Allen walks in for an interview. I'm like, wow, real estate sounds cool. I'm making $3 an hour here at the TV station. So I asked him about his, how do I get involved with real estate? He says, come to my webinar, young man, my boot camp, rather, the weekend boot camp, only $5,000. I think Mr. Allen make $3.10 an hour here. And to his credit, he said, go to the library and check out my book. So I did. And I left television within 12 months to start investing in real estate, and had a great time doing a lot of crazy, no money down deals. And I bought apartment buildings, houses, I even bought a convent, had a great time with that. I started a school about how to invest in real estate, the only one that was semester-based with accountability, and you can't graduate until you buy a piece of real estate. So I was very adamant about doing, not just learning. And I had a great run until 2008. and during 2008, of course, I faced some challenges. And that was not one foreclosure, or two or three or four or five or 10. It was 19 foreclosures, bankruptcy, divorce, clinical depression. And quite frankly, people have been, I'm not the only one that had a dip, right? But when the thought of, ending your life doesn't go away, it just lingers and bounces around, and the truck looks attractive and the hollow point bullet sits on your desk for 9 months.
Ooh,
kind of scary, man. So, I had a miracle escape from that. If you want to hear that story, I'll tell it to you.
Well, I think we can't leave that as a cliffhanger. So yes, please.
So on my journey to my success journey, right, in my 20s and 30s and 40s, everything is bright and rosy. I'm class president in high school, and I've had a real estate academy. I bought my own airplane. I was doing very well. In 2008, it's like, okay, let me smack you down to nothing. And all the things I had done to get there, right? I loved listening to Tony Robbins. I was a Brian Tracy fanatic. I love these guys, had their books or their CDs, that dates myself. And on the way up, they're wonderful. When I'm down in the throes of depression, I'm reading their stuff, listening to their CDs, and hating them. Like, you're a liar. I don't believe you anymore. You don't know what it's like to be me. Most millionaires have been broke 2.2 times in their life. Yeah, well, I wouldn't wish this pain upon my worst enemy. So I'm driving on the road, David, and I'm popping CDs in, and I'm listening to them, trying to get my mojo back. Liar, charlatan, not working. I put one CD in. I'll never forget this day. 9 months of clinical depression, gone in 6 seconds. I mean, I am back. I'm like, who is this guy, right? I eject the CD, I pull it out, look at the label. It was me. It was my CD with my voice on it back in 2004 or 5, when I recorded a goal-setting CD for my students. That voice alone snapped me out of my funk and put me on a trajectory of wow, better than before, quite frankly. So
Out of that, crazy.
Yeah, out of that experience, I created something that's pretty unique back in 2012. And now I had a couple of years to do this, but I built basically it was an interactive book where someone could take their, they would answer a few questions about their personality and their goals and obstacles, and I would ship them a physical book with their name on the front cover, their goals embedded, written in their personality, with a text message coming in to remind them of their actions, a voicemail from the future, because I couldn't do rags to riches. Mine was riches to rags. So I said, oh, I'm going to the future. So a voice in the future saying, you're doing great back in 2025. You're here in a beach in Hawaii in 2030. Good job. So all these things together, I created this platform with very little money that I had left. And I tested it with New York Life, Rotary. They ate it up. Everybody had 100% open rate on their book because, well, their name's on the cover. It's written in their own personality with their goals embedded. And so early this year, I was like, wow, if I could do it with that one book, if I infuse a little bit of AI, I can do it now with anybody's book. So our beta right now, to ask about the dates, coming out in November, is I take classic books, Think and Grow Rich. But this version might have a corporate sponsor on top, might not, but it'll be like, hey, Napoleon Hill and David Newman, Think and Grow Rich. And it's all updated inside, written in your personality, same values, same core concept in that great book, but it's written with you in there. And it talks about your goals, your dreams, your desires, your obstacles, how to get around them. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm
How
really
about that?
Yeah.
Well, so tell me a little bit, the cool thing, and one of the cool things that we'll talk about and dig into is corporate and entrepreneurial executives.
Yes.
Writing books, speaking, basically celebritizing themselves.
Yes.
When did this concept become important? And what's the state of the union today? Just as far as your 150 plus books, 270 authors. I mean, you've been up and down and on every side of this. Where does it stand today?
Where it stands today, in my opinion, it's even more important to really lean into your personal brand. And a book is usually still a strong component of that. And the reason it's more important today, I mean, you and I have been around, right? I remember when there were 3 TV stations, and cable, satellite, streaming, and what's this cool thing? It's called a website now, but you had to be special to be on TV, and like here we are doing our own TV show right now. So everything comes and expands and gets mass done, and then it becomes less cool. It used to be great to be on television. Now nobody watches it, right? So when it comes to a personal brand, especially with AI, I've been following that pretty closely even before it was popular. And excited about it, not too worried, a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I'm seeing a huge numbers of people depending upon it. Mark Shaver wrote a great post about this, actually rewiring the way we think and act as human beings. And because of that, I was nervous about 2 years ago because of our ghostwriting part of our business. Then I started using it, and I'm not worried anymore.
Nice.
Because AI is as fast as it's going and as great as it's going to become, it still is not a human being. It doesn't have any skin or emotion. It can't experience anything, right? Yeah. It's just regurgitating what we give it. And it's hallucinating, creating ideas, but it's not truly experiencing thing. It doesn't have a soul, and it certainly isn't responsible, right? That's up to us. That's my TEDx talk, is the power of humanity in the shadow of AI. So when it comes to personal branding, it's never been more important to lean into that as a leader, as an executive, as a founder, because of the disintermediation of media, the absolute explosion of content, which is going to just drown us. In order to stand out and stand up, you've got to be a human being, and you've got to have something interesting, useful, and if you're lucky, entertaining to say. Interesting, useful, and entertaining. So if you got those 3 components and you can embed your humanity into a book is the only piece of marketing on the planet today that I am aware of that isn't forgotten, ignored, or put in the garbage can as soon as you open it up. Right? Clicks, likes, shares, email, podcasts as well, speaking, things that I love doing. are forgotten by the person within seconds, moments, or days.
Yeah.
But a book, look, the book's behind you, behind me.
Yeah.
Will we ever consider dismissing, putting a book in the garbage can, right? It's like burning it. We'd never do it.
Yeah.
A book is a permanent foundational element to your personal brand.
Hey, super quick station break question. Have you seen our free executive briefing on elevating your CEO brand? Check it out right now at doitmarketing.com/webinar. And now back to the show. Let's say that a CEO or founder or senior executive is listening to this podcast and they say, you know, I've been wanting to write a book. Doug Crowe seems like a guy who gets it. He has this kind of ghostwriting and book marketing part of his business. Are they going to be writing a memoir? Are they going to be writing a business book based on practices and principles, sort of a how-to or how to think kind of book? Is it going to be a hybrid? Are they going to write a business parable like Bob Burg? I mean, what kind of books do people, what kind of book ideas do people come to you with? And then how do you guide them in that decision?
Well, the answer is yes. They can do any of those things, certainly. And you mentioned our good friend Bob Burg. So, yeah, if they're going to write a parable, I will definitely forward them to either John David Mann, Bob's co-author, or my good friend Jeff West, who's written, man, his parables are top notch. But no, in the sense of my clients hardly ever write their book. It's authored by them. But like when I interviewed Laura Langmeyer on my radio show years ago, I'm a best-selling author, Doug. I'm not a best-selling writer, right? She's never written a word. So our ghostwriting program is very fine-tuned. We don't start with the book. We start with the research, and then we go into marketing right away. I'll tell you about that in a second, because it's very important to layer in who you want to read your book by treating them as collaborators, not as readers. That's a key differential what we do. But our ghostwriter is really good. Our journalist, the journalist is really good at pulling out the value prop from the author, whether it's their memoir or business stuff or whatever it is. But their job is to think like the reader, which is why when I get books from clients who have written their own, they generally need some developmental editing because they sound like diaries. There I was, right? Yeah. So it's important to have a good developmental editor or a good journalist to guide you along the way of getting out your power, your story. So we do all of that. Journalism, ghostwriting, editing, production, marketing, yes, but more we're leaning into distribution, which is different than marketing, by the way. Yeah.
Let's go back. So much good stuff that you just dropped right there. Let's talk about collaborators, getting collaborators in early. What does that mean? How does that work?
That's so much fun to do. I'm working with about 4 clients right now, and I'm saying, okay, so we're working on your book. What do you want the book to do? Well, I'd like it to, establish me as a thought leader, get me on stages, do that kind of stuff. Okay, good. Who would be a whale of a client you'd like to work with, right? So I had a couple of clients that gave me some pretty big names. I'm like, all right. So I contact them, not as a marketing guy, but as a publisher, saying, I'm working on a book with this topic. Do you have a story that might be good for this? So that's how we got the American Cancer Society and executives from, Starbucks and other big names in our books, because I treat them as content collaborators, basically. We did this for Les Whitney. He dropped Vistage and American Cancer Society in his book because it's got a health spin on his book. And where do you think his first 2 keynotes were? Vistage National and American Cancer Society. So when you treat your future ICP, and I'm talking not just individuals, but big ones like associations or corporations, you talk to them early, get stories to them, pepper it in your book, develop a little relationship with them as an author, not as a sales guy. When you send them that book, hey, and you tab it, you put their sections, that they go right to the tab, of course. There's me.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. They go there, and quite often they'll say, this is amazing. Can I promote it with you? I'm like, well, of course you can. Right. And as they read it or they figure out what you do, and 9 times out of 10, you've got I hate to call it a sales call. You've got a frictionless dialogue with a potential large distributor, client, enterprise client, because we're talking about large organizations here. I don't do one-offs. We do collaborate with name brands or people who represent name brands.
Yeah, I love that frictionless conversation. It's not a sales call. It's a frictionless conversation about what's the natural extension of our relationship after this, after the interview. So I think one of the, maybe not the key, but I think one thing that is really unique is the author doesn't make that outreach. You make the outreach as the publisher, thus elevating the author onto an even higher plane.
Yes, only a smart man like you gets that. Yes, some people, in a couple of cases, I did have the author reach out because it was a smaller tier, connection. That's fine. If it's going through an Inc. 5000 company, it might be fine. Fortune 100, Fortune 5000, I'm going to go ahead and do it on their behalf for sure. But some of the smaller ones, they can do it. Yeah.
Really, really great. You have so many great little sound bites. I went to your website and I'm poking around there. But tell me about why most authors lose their value before the book even launches. What's that little secret?
The biggest thing they do is they treat themselves like, I don't know, I hate to say the word author, but here's I can do it through a better example. Look from the perspective of the readers of the internet, right? You're on the internet. One of your friends launches their book. Hey, I got my book coming out. And you see it in your feed. You're like, okay, that's nice. You see it the second day. Okay, I see it. Third day, fine, I'll get it. You click, you get the book. You see it the fourth day, fifth day. By then, you're like ignoring it or unsubscribing. The problem with people, authors, is that they write, edit, launch. And then they've got basically a 5-day window before they become irrelevant.
Yes.
So we turn that around. Let's build launch partners. Let's do data research. Let's bring our readers in to the collaborative process. So we sell, market, position, write, launch. And when we do that properly, when we have launch partners, they might say, do you want us to launch it this week? And sometimes we launch at the same time. But more often than not, we'll stagger it to give them a longer launch window. It would take several weeks or several months even.
Yeah.
Because we get banner blindness. We get bored with seeing the same thing over and over again. And they won't even, your community who's looking at you now will not see your book after 5 days. It's just not going to be seen. So.
Doug, I'm curious, what do you think about this concept of write the book in public? In other words, hey guys, I just, you see the index cards laid out on the coffee table, outlining my new book. But then again, you're mixing it up, and here's my dog, and here's us on vacation. And then a couple of weeks later, hey, first proofs just came back from the publisher, and here's me like marking up the first proofs. Is that writing in public sort of bringing people along, the kind of the insider's view? Is that valuable, or is that also kind of lead to that banner blindness, like, okay, enough about your book already?
Yeah, it depends on how you do it. If you do it just as you described, you're going to attract lower quality people who look up. Oh yeah, I want to attract equal or higher quality people, right? So if you position yourself as I'm the guy, look at me, then it's complete vanity. It's like people who put their picture on the front cover of the book. I had to tell a few people this, like, who loves that cover? So your mother.
Yeah.
And that's about it, because nobody knows who you are. There's 8 billion people on the planet. Unless you're a celebrity, unless you're Tina Fey doing a funny, bossy pants image on your cover, which attracts me. It's hilarious. Yeah. If you're not a celebrity, putting your picture on the cover is stupid. Just dumb.
Totally agree.
So building in public is fine, provided you involve the public with your build. Like I would suggest doing, it's like true build in public people are vulnerable. They'll ask for ideas. They'll get suggestions. Imagine if, Malcolm Gladwell built his next book in public. If he started asking for audiences, stories to come in there, he would be massive. He doesn't need to, but if you're not Malcolm Gladwell, which you're not, but you have a smaller audience, whatever it is, 1,000, 5,000 people, oh my gosh, I would love to contribute to your book. Give me a question, give me a story, do a poll. So building in public with the public, I'm all for. Doing it just to watch me, I'd rather watch a cat video, sorry.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So let's talk about the entrepreneurial trajectory, right? You've got 7-8-figure business owner. Maybe they've got 3 to 5 years to exit. They want to exit. Not necessarily that they're old, but they're ready to move on to their next thing, right? They want to flip it and move on. so much of the entrepreneurial juice that we're drinking is do not put yourself in the center of the business. Make yourself replaceable. Take your face and your voice out of everything so the business no longer centers around you. One thing I've heard is make the system the celebrity. Don't make the CEO or the founder the celebrity. And yet here we are. It's like, I'm David Newman. I write books. You're Doug Crowe. You write books. What's the Doug Crowe business without Doug? What's the David Newman business without David? And I think some of these more sophisticated entrepreneurs and executives that you're working with, they're especially sensitive to this. But like, Doug, I'm not going to be here in 3 years. Why the hell would I write a book that sort of cements me or handcuffs me to this business? By the way, I know that's wrong. You know that's wrong. But could you please tell people why that's wrong?
Yes. Because after you exit, now you'll have a launch pad. If you write the book about your company like Basecamp did, oh my gosh, great book, great company, it's fine. Does that book still work even though they sold or, with Basecamp? Of course it does. Yeah. So that's a combination of system and personal brand. I think Brendan Burchard talked about that when he started his Experts Academy. He didn't call it the Brendan Burchard thing. He purposely labeled it Experts Academy because he wanted to make sure it wasn't about him. Yeah. But he's still the face of it. I always say that, even big brands, even McDonald's has a clown, right? There's a representative of your brand. Yeah. And people, I'm sorry, but people only do business with other people. We might transact with brands, but we don't build affinity, real deep affinity with systems. Yes. or digital things. We like to deal with people. So the answer is both. You could definitely need to replace yourself and build a company. If you want to exit, great. But having that personal brand is going to help you, not hurt you, provided you position the book properly and have that forethought to say, okay, I'm going to exit in a year or two. My book will help me with my next thing. And it could be legacy and retirement. It doesn't be business. It could be anything. I've done, probably 30% of our books are legacy driven. And no intention of leveraging it into a higher valuation or more lead gen or anything. It's just for fun.
Well, it's funny. You mentioned our friend Mark Schaefer, and I've had Mark on the show years ago. Really smart dude. And
he's the only email that I read entirely every single time it comes out.
Oh, really?
Him and Oren Klaff are my favorite newsletter guys. They're brilliant. Yeah.
So there you go. Well, and we'll just say, listen, Mark Schaefer, it's about time you got your butt back on my show. But
that's right, Mark. He said I could put him on one of mine too, and I my fault, I haven't followed up with him because my co-host is out of the country. But we'll get you on, Mark. We love you.
So I heard Mark speak. This was pre-pandemic. I want to say 2017, 2018. One of his new books was coming out. I think it was the book on personal branding. I forget the title, but it was the one that has like the Hollywood lights on the, and he said on a stage in front of like 2,000 people at this event, personal brands are more important than company brands, period, full stop. Where is that advice in 2025, 2026?
Still there.
Bigger, better, meaner, what?
More important because of the explosion of irrelevant AI-generated content that's driving us batty. And companies are. I mean, I'm just seeing it was bad before. Remember the old expression, David, used to be content is king?
Yes.
Now we haven't said that in a couple of years because there's too much content. So what are we saying now? We're saying attention economy, trust economy.
Yeah.
What are those things related to? Are they related to a brand? Am I going to really do I really go to the Coca-Cola Facebook page very often?
Probably not.
Ever? No. So where do you go? You want to connect with another human being. Now, sometimes that human being is your neighbor, your family member, or maybe it's someone like Mark Schaefer or David Newman. But you want to connect with that person who represents the brand, not the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about vulnerability because you mentioned when we talked about building in public, you got to be vulnerable. Some of these CEOs, some of these founders, they come to you, hey, Doug, can you help me with the book? They want to have the completely sanitized, I never made a mistake, I am super smart, I am super handsome, and boy, do I smell great in the morning. And when you tell them, no, what were some failures? What were some detours? What were some experiments that didn't work out the way you wanted? I'm sure there's an initial wall of ego or resistance or something. I don't want to show the warts. I don't want to show the dead ends and the detours.
Yeah.
How do you get them comfortable with this level of storytelling about the hard times?
Yeah. It doesn't happen that often because most of them understand what you and I both know is that's if you don't have any arcs in your story, it is very, very boring. Yeah. Whenever we hear a story about some 26-year-old wonder kid becoming $1 billion, we not only hate him, we have nothing, we can't relate to him, and it's an irrelevant, it's okay, you're a billionaire, good for you, right? We don't care. We want the gladiator in the ring with the blood and tears and stuff, because that's like, yeah, fight, you've earned it. So most of them understand that. If they're hesitant, I just pull out my my pastor card. So listen, we're going to talk about stuff. Nothing gets published without your approval, but I do want to know how you got there and your biggest challenge, because that'll help other people who've had similar or worse challenges. Yeah. So I always frame it up in a conversation so they're comfortable. Nothing gets published without your approval, but I don't have too much of a problem asking people that. Most of them understand the value of the growth, and boy, the stories I've heard, man, I'm doing this for 15 years. I've got some doozies, from the failed multi-billion-dollar mergers to a guy who escaped the Taliban, was on their hit list and stuff. Just amazing stuff.
Yeah.
One person didn't want to share a whole lot, and he had an amazing story. He was the youngest spy to be recruited by Castro, was a double agent for CIA. He's waxing on prolifically, all these things, and I'm looking, is this for real? I'm looking up on Wikipedia as we're talking. I'm like, oh, it's a real guy. But it was all about. It's all about him and his story. And I asked him a couple of questions. I said, well, who does this book serve? What's your purpose? And he kind of stuttered. And it was, all about him. And I didn't interest me that much. So I sent him off to somebody else to work with it, because I like stories and books that make a difference, make an impact. Those are the ones we work with. Yeah.
Yes,
and it could be growing your business to hire more people. That's fine. Or it could be changing the world, or both. So.
Yes, exactly. Well, I know that you have a very unique proprietary process that you walk your authors through. The 3 phases that I'm looking at on the website is phase 1, reverse engineer your bestseller. Phase 2 is what you call systems-based creativity. We'll dig into that here in a moment. And then viral campaign map and execution. Can you kind of just give us the highlights of that 3-phase process?
On the first phase, we do something that most authors don't do, and that's pretty detailed research. I will take a category. Say you're going to be a book category in advertising or something. I'll go to the top best-selling books in that category, and I will pull at least 200 3-star Amazon reviews. We ignore 1-star reviews. They're just worthless, angry people. 5-star reviews are somebody's mother, right? But a 3-star review always says, I like the book, but I like this, but I was expecting this. And we copy and collate all those 3-star reviews, put it into a pie chart, say, here you go. Here's what your audience is asking for, or here's what you should not do when we create your book. So this kind of data mining is very valuable information about how you should position your theme, or if your theme is even relevant at all. Sometimes it hasn't happened at all yet, but it could knock out your whole idea if we have enough negative feedback on a specific topic. But generally, we add to it. We get chapter titles and things from the data. So that kind of research, we do some polls, focus group with your target audience, collaboration, of course. So we queue all that up first. The systems-based creativity is just structured calls. There's 2 processes. One is random chit-chat like we're doing, and then we pull the theme out and craft the outline. My left brain authors kind of have an idea of what their value prop is and their process flow, and we map that out in a table of contents and do what we call a TOC 360, where we'll map out the idea, the headline, the stories to back it up, the bullet points to take away, and the hook for the next chapter, and document all of that before we do the interviews. So it's like an 8-page table of contents. And then we do the interviews. The journalist is also traditionally a writer, so they're asking the questions that the reader wants to know. I've seen so many, like I mentioned, a lot of authors who write their own books. Sounds like a diary. So either get a good developmental editor for yourself or hire a journalist, ghostwriter to do it for you. So we go through the iterations of journalism, interviews, And then the ghostwriter creates like a 4 or 5 page sample from the first few interviews. And that sample has unlimited revisions until the author is 99% happy with it. Not 100, 99% happy. Okay, that's the theme, style, pace, and voice that you want. Great. Let's go to town and knock the book out. Couple more iterations of reviews and editing and whatnot. So it takes us several months to do all this. But once that's out there, my production team turns it into a print, Kindle, and Audible if you want. That's the first 2 phases: research, systems-based creativity, and then the viral marketing. Like I said, we kind of handle that early on by working with these larger corporations and associations, nonprofits early. So the book comes out, we have guaranteed distribution. It's like we're not gonna hope and pray for significance like everybody else out there trying to market and push their book. 2 million new books a year, David. Every year, 2 million new ones.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck getting recognized if you don't have your people anticipating it. It's really hard to move a lot of volume there. So we focus on that early and often and getting somebody into their ICP.
Holy smokes, so much value in this episode. Listen, if you are loving what you're hearing, feel free to download, subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to The Selling Show. Now, back to the interview. So I'm going to jump to what for most people might seem the most boring part of this. To me, it's the most exciting part of this, which the last thing you just said is bulk book sales.
Yes.
Bulk book sales, 99% of authors, at least in my experience, they are just kind of waiting for the magic unicorn to show up, and they're giving a keynote and someone from IBM is in the audience and says, hey, we want to buy 50,000 books. And it's like pennies from heaven. It is totally serendipitous. You engineer bulk book sales from the very start.
Yep.
How does that work? How do we pre-seed and how do we plant the seed of an organization buying thousands or tens of thousands of copies of our book?
It's actually even better than that because we don't just focus on the book, we focus on the message. So for example, preceding the book with talking to your large organizations ahead of time, that's a very important thing to do. But you've got to be careful not to talk too much, if at all, about what you do. Right now, you're an author, whether I'm doing it or the author's doing it. So we talk about that theme. We worked with a gentleman last week, and he hasn't even engaged with us, right? We're just showing him how this works. I built a database of 50 associations and corporations representing about 8 million potential readers for him before we even started working on his book. And I did this in public, actually, in front of an audience of about 30 visionaries and founders. And they said, well, this book isn't about his product. And I'm like, that's right. Because nobody wants to read a 130-page sales brochure.
Right.
It was about the theme of generational dignity and things like that. It was a much broader theme that would go with the National Alzheimer's Association or a bunch of organizations like that. So in terms of the process, we actually start conversations with maybe 20 to 30 to get started, but we have at least 50 to 100 we target. And we'll get through at least 20, 30% of them because it's a journalism inquiry. Sometimes they'll be in the book, sometimes they won't. They won't make the editing. So that's another piece to understand. They might not all be in the book, but we'll select the ones with the best stories, a first parameter. And the second criteria is how big is their database, right? If they're a larger organization with a decent story, they're going to be in the book. So we do that. And oftentimes, like I have working with a couple clients right now who've already published their book. How do we get them into those bulk sales? Same thing holds true. We actually go out and contact the Fortune 500 associations, nonprofits, and I have conversations with them about things that don't relate to want to buy a book. No, it's about, hey, I read in your annual report, one of the initiatives is this. What are some of the things you're doing? Because I'm writing an article for Entrepreneur Magazine about this, and I would be. And I get conversations with top people about what they're working on. And I've got a Rolodex of 20, 30 clients I'm working with. I say, hey, you know what? I've got something I'd like to send you a copy of this one guy's book. I think it might be a good fit for your initiative. In fact, depending on what you're going to do with it, I'd even customize it for you and your organization. Because the print-on-demand publishing, why do I need to? I don't need to just send them any old book. Why not put their logo on the back cover? Why not put the CEO message in the beginning of my client's book? Why not? If we're going to move 10,000, which is our guaranteed deliverable with our clients now, we ghostwrite, publish, and distribute your book, and we have a 10,000 unit minimum. Sometimes those are free, to be really clear, right? They're not always paid book sales. So I don't worry about the money, because once they're in there, if you're a consultant or you got a software or something, you're a 6-7 figure enterprise deal. Who cares about a $10 or $20 book sale? You want to get in the hearts and minds of your people there. So we got distribution locked in with our clients way before the book is even done.
Related to this, I'm also wondering if you've done much with sponsored books. So in other words, the organization doesn't buy the book for their own people, but a financial services firm buys thousands of copies because each one of their financial advisors wants to give that book out to their clients and prospects. So there's the author, there's the sponsoring organization, and then there's the people who will receive the book as a gift or a premium or a thank you or something like that. How does that work?
Yeah, it works. There's a lot of ways to do that. My friend, and you probably know Steve Harrison, he told me a story about this gal who wrote this book about foreclosures. And I'm not mentioning the name because the book wasn't that great. It was kind of sophomoric. But the woman who wrote it did something brilliant. She went to the National Urban League and said, I want to give you 100,000 copies of this book to your constituents for free. And they're like, what? Yeah, here's a book about foreclosure. I'm sure your people are facing foreclosures. This will help them. Like, you get these for free. Yeah, 100,000 copies, no charge for you. Wow, thank you so much. And she's inking the deal and says, now, by the way, we're going to have someone pay for the printing and shipping. So I'm going to get a corporate sponsor. Is that okay? Yeah, fine. Done. She takes that document, goes to Bank of America, Wells, Chase, has a bidding war. So I just inked the deal with the National Urban League for 100,000 copies of this book about preventing foreclosures that I'm sure some of those people are your customers or could be your customers. You don't want them to face foreclosure, do you? No. How'd it go last year with sending out that calendar or that refrigerator magnet? Was that helpful for you? People they throw away calendars as soon as they come to the door. Nobody throws away a book. So she had a bidding war, and $3.1 million later, she had her bulk book deal. And she did it very genuinely. It was the numbers were something along the lines of, this is the actual printing and shipping cost and a 20% management fee for her. So they didn't pay full retail for the book for sure, that kind of quantity. Right. But she didn't do it for free either. What a brilliant idea is to get the customer first and then go find the sponsor. I've always done that. I've never, and Brendan Burchard talked about it too. He goes, how do you phrase it when he's talking about this? When he did his first book launch, he had like Pepsi or Coke and McDonald's there. He was asking for big bucks, 6-figure sponsorship checks. And they said, well, how big's your list? He goes, I don't have a list. I'm going to use your list. Nice. Much like, hey, with this money, we can do a lot with it. So that's tough for me to say. I'm not a former Accenture him on Kim, but I think getting the distribution first is kind of what we're doing. And when you get that locked in, the content's easy because I'm going to have the author's content. I'm probably going to have some stories from the sponsor/corporation. It's fun. It's like a party. It's good. Yes. So good. Well, Doug Crowe, you are brilliant, obviously. Tell people how they can get connected and stay connected to more Doug Crowe genius. Where can we go? What links can go in the show notes? Thank you so much. First of all, I want to offer all of your listeners a complimentary assessment where we do analyze your category, your idea, whatnot. And it takes us about probably about a good solid week to do this for you. We'll do it for free for any of your listeners. They go to authoryourbrand.com/go. And you can click on that. You'll see what we're talking about. And you pick a time and we'll hop on a call and go through your idea. And I'll do some research for you and give you a whole analysis on what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And also give you some ideas of who we could market your book to. Those large corporations, I'll cue those up for you and give you a list to go, wow, we can get a hold of them. You're in good shape.
I love it. And so that's authoryourbrand.com/go. That's going to be in the show notes right under this episode. Doug Crowe, thank you. So many value bombs. People will need to re-listen to this episode at least 2 or 3 times. And I'm looking forward to having you back as well.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.